Welcome to the Church Security Answer Man video blog, where it's all about ministry safety, security, and making a difference for people. And now, your host, a former law enforcement officer, criminal justice trainer, and security expert, Captain Joe Puckett.
Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to this community, this discussion about church security. This is the Church Security Answer Man, and this is Season 5, Episode 2. And today we're going to be talking about tackling backpack issues. 6 ways that we can tackle this issue right here when it comes into your church. So just some thoughts and part of the process. How can we deal with it? So I'm so happy you're joining me here, no matter what you're up to today. Some of you may be listening on our podcasts, our audio from various platforms that we broadcast on. Or you may be watching us via YouTube or some other video form. And so I just want to welcome you however you are gaining our information or joining us, if you will. I do want to thank you for joining me. My name is Joe Puckett. I am glad that you are here for this discussion. And I want to make sure and reinforce, as we talk about all the time, the size of your church does not matter if you're a mega church or you're a tiny home church. We don't care here what the size of your church is. We're just about sharing security and safety issues for our churches. And we especially don't care what your denomination is. We are not based on denomination here. We are based on the idea of a ministry, the idea of church security, protecting our people, limiting the liabilities of our ministry, and certainly protecting our leaders as well as part of the discussion. So our sponsor today for this episode is the Church Security University. They are a great place for you to go if you need policies, if you need report forms, how to document incidents that happen, how to document training. They also have over there forms and manuals to help you do your own security assessments. And they also have training videos over there for you so that you can actually go in and use those for your team. And they also give you a certificate that you can print off and fill in after you complete the training for you and or for your team members. So very low cost over there to get into this, a monthly membership cost. You can join them by going to the Church Security University membership.com. Church Security University membership.com. And there's a little video on there. I am certainly part of that group as well. It's a little bit of a partnership, a joint effort over there, and you'll see my instructions and my welcoming videos, those kind of things. But I encourage you to go over there. It's a great tool for you and designed to help you get some of these things accomplished that sometimes are kind of difficult for us to get accomplished. So as we jump into today's discussion, I do want to mention I'm not an attorney. Okay, I'm not giving you legal advice here. I am giving you opinions based on my law enforcement experience, my time as a church security member and leader and church security advisor to many different churches over the past year. So that all comes in this form of giving you some opinions, those kind of things. And some of them are strong. And this is a sensitive topic. I really do believe it is. Looking at, 6 ways that we can tackle the backpack issue. I mean, that's a big deal. It's a sensitive one, and it's personal stuff in these backpacks oftentimes. So we need to handle it carefully, and I'm just giving you opinions, not legal advice, that you might want to get from your insurance company or an attorney if your church has one. So let's talk about tackling backpacks now. How can we do that? Let's talk about there's 6 reasonable ways, as I mentioned, and let's talk about those, in my opinion. First, there's always the search method. Just dig into them. People come up to your doors, they're coming into the lobby, and you ask to search their backpack. And you have to have permission, basically, but if they don't give you permission, then you have the option to ask them to leave. Because the churches generally, from my understanding, in most states, most areas, churches are your property. They're private property. Even if you're renting a school gymnasium or something temporarily, it is at that time your property and your ability to make those decisions on who stays and who goes. So, but there's issues with that when you ask somebody to leave, certainly from our ministry leadership perspective. So somebody enters your church or ministry, maybe you're telling people, maybe you have signs up that say we search backpacks, and in our first option, we're going to search. And so I do want to say, though, this is not the friendliest option. Plain and simple, it's not real friendly. It can be offensive. You're going through people's personal belongings. It can be negative. It can be off-putting to people, offensive. And I don't even think it's necessarily negative just to the person that you're searching. I think others around that are watching this process can feel a bit of negativity from it as well. So we got to be careful. We do hear people that say, yeah, hey, we search backpacks, and security people, most of security people want to search backpacks. But I'll bet there's a good chance that your leadership says, no, we're not searching backpacks, because of the negative nature. It can be a bit offensive, obtrusive. You're digging into people's stuff, and it's not welcoming in a friendly type gesture. So I can see where leaders would say, your priests or pastors or other church leaders would say, no, we're not searching backpacks. So, and some of the other issues we get into when we talk about searching backpacks is, these are big bags. What else should we be searching then? If you search backpacks, are you going to search diaper bags? Babies' diaper bags? How about big purses? Where's the cutoff on that stuff? Is it just backpacks? And honestly, we have to be fair, I think, across the board. If you're going to search somebody's big bag because it's a backpack and they look like they're a transient or homeless person, you better search my big bag when I come in. Even though I may be dressed up and looking really nice and all of that, you better search my backpack as well. It better be a fair, across the board policy that you have. From what I've seen from some case law and from some other stuff, opinions, legal opinions, I think that you probably better be fair across the board. And fairness is a big issue for people these days, as we can always see those kind of stories in the news. So, and honestly, I don't know about you, but when we look at big bags and different things, I don't really want to search a large purse. I don't want to be digging into some lady's stuff. I just don't want to get into that stuff. And honestly, I don't think they want you to search either. And you can see where I'm going with this. I don't have to dig into details, but there's stuff in those bags I don't want anything to do with. So, and I know you understand that. So it may be, a decent security principle to search backpacks, but I don't think our leaders oftentimes are going to be as easygoing. And I understand that. Maybe your leader says, yep, we have a policy. And, I think some people in your ministry, in your church, in your congregation, might appreciate the fact that you're searching things. They see you searching people's backpacks and stuff. Until maybe they bring in a big bag and then you're searching their stuff. And then I don't think they're going to think it's a great security principle. But you have to decide. So it's just not friendly and welcoming. So how else can we deal with the backpack issue? How can we tackle this? Second method of dealing with backpacks is we can do nothing. We can simply let them come in. And I think there's a lot of churches that are still doing this. People walk in with backpacks and everybody's hands off. Nobody touches them. Nobody really digs into that backpack. And I understand that. It's much more friendly and welcoming to not dig into people's stuff. So ignore the backpack in the room. Ignore the elephant in the room, if you will. For security principle, a backpack's a huge deal because it can carry destructive devices. It can carry weapons. But what are we going to do? Balancing. We got to balance all the time. So where's friendly, welcoming come into that process? How does it make your congregation feel to have somebody walking around with a backpack? They may not even notice, but are there others that are noticing that and it makes them feel uncomfortable? So I think you have to do the evaluations, plain and simple, and consider what are the other options. Maybe one of these other options works for you. And what are the dangers? We're constantly looking at that. What are the dangers if we don't search that backpack and there's a weapon in there or something along those lines, something that can cause us issue? And we know there's people all over in our communities that are contemplating violence. So if we're allowing them maybe to have the tools with them and we don't try to interrupt that process, what could happen? The third way that we can tackle a backpack issue is putting them into a closet or side room. We can do that as well. Just a standard thing that we can do. Another way that we can handle that is just asking the owner of the backpack to place it in a closet or a side room. And you designate that ahead of time. You don't search the backpack, you just put it in that room. And maybe that room is a little ways away from your auditorium or your meeting area. But there's issues that come along with that. Part of the process is the room or the place, the closet or the room better be under your control, better be under security control, whether it's locked up after they put it in there or you're watching that room the entire time. Because if they miss something, if something goes missing, and, if you're not watching it, what if they just claim something's missing? There's all kinds of options that can be occurring with this issue of putting the backpacks away. So it becomes really your responsibility to take care of it. So it's got to be a closet or a room that you can watch the whole service while it's in there, or that you can lock up and only you or only security team members have the key to that. Because you don't want to be paying for something that was stolen or something that someone claims to be stolen, especially if somebody claims it, because it's going to be a big valuable item. If people are making claims that something was stolen, it'll become much more valuable when they're expecting you to replace it or buy it or reimburse them for it. Fourth way that we can tackle the backpack issue is simply ask the holder of the backpack, the owner, the person bringing it in, to take it back out and leave it in their car or take it home. Don't bring it in. Just simply ask them to take it back out. And that brings up a problem, because what if you're dealing with a homeless person? They don't have a car, they don't have a home, and they're not going to give up that backpack. So how are you going to deal with that issue? What are your options? The closet, they don't want to give it up. It's all their personal stuff. And I've dealt with some of these folks where they are not going to give up that backpack. So what are we going to do? What are the options? And I think that brings us back to that third option, like I'm mentioning, where can you put it in a closet? Some of them won't want to give it up, but how about the option of having the closet or the room where you can secure it, or maybe it's right up front where you have a security team member posted the whole time. Maybe it's right off the lobby and you have a security person posted there all the time so that they can watch that door to make sure that nobody gets in there and disturbs that backpack until the owner comes back out. So having a place where you can put backpacks is, I kind of like that idea. Now let's talk about the fifth way that I can think of to deal with backpacks is if you have a TV room or something. Maybe you have a broadcast area where your message, the sermon is, and the music is piped down to another room where you have a TV room or something. So, that might be an option, is if they don't want to give up their backpack, they don't want to let go of it, they don't want you to search it, and they don't want it in a closet or someplace. How about if we take them down to the TV room? It's away from the main group of folks in the church. It might be an option, lesser of two issues, if you will. So we're not letting them into the big auditorium where they can cause a major problem. We're just letting them into the TV room where maybe there's only a half a dozen or a dozen people in there. Kind of weigh those options, if you will. I'm not sure I like those options, but let them sit in that area away from the congregation. And maybe you don't have a lot of people sitting in that TV room. Maybe it's there just for very special situations like this, where you can still let somebody be ministered to. I like that. And let them still hear the message, but they don't want to give up that backpack, so we're going to let them go down there. The sixth way, the final way that my opinion, the final way that comes to my mind is simply telling somebody who has a backpack that doesn't want you to put it in a room, doesn't want you to search it, can't put it in a car, that maybe they just have to simply leave and cannot attend today because of your concerns in that backpack. And that's an option. If we're being honest, that's an option. It may not be a great option, especially to your leadership team, that we're turning somebody away who maybe really needs to hear the message, but it's an option. And maybe sometimes, especially if we get a sense that something's not right, maybe there's mental health issues possibly here, and this person has a big bulky backpack, and maybe circumstances say we're just not going to let them in. And I think there's times where we have to get comfortable with the idea that not everybody can come into church, especially from a security perspective. Now, give them options. If you don't have the TV room, they're not willing to lock it up, they're not willing to let you search it, and we're just basically saying you can't come in then. And so, is there another option? Can you give them some brochures, some kind of message, have something put together that you can give them that still gives them a message from your church? Or is there somebody that can go out and minister to them out at a bench in front of the church? And probably if there's concerns, mental health issues, those kind of things, you probably want two people to go. So maybe a leader that's going to minister to them and a security team member. So there's two people out there. And if it's a female, then make sure there's a female out there. If we're ministering to her, then we want to make sure that there's a female out there as well with the minister or the leader, or maybe they're the ones doing the ministering. So we want to cover all the bases, but it's an option. And I think it's something that we have to get comfortable with as well, is that sometimes we can't allow everybody into church. And that's important for other scenarios too. When somebody's out of control, where we've got to be willing to say sometimes for the good of the whole group, whether that's 10 people or 10,000 people, for the good of the message and the service and the people that are here to worship and to hear the message, maybe for the good of the order, this person should not be here today. And so I think we have to be comfortable with that. It should be rare. We should try to come up with other options, like maybe even ministering to them out in front of the church. So I think that's a sixth and viable option, if you will. So now I got a couple stories for you. I just want to share with you a couple quick stories that have happened recently at my church. They're the two most recent things that come to mind. First one is a guy, very plain and raggedy looking tan uniform. He comes into the church. I mean, it's just matching tan pants, matching tan shirt, and he's got kind of boots on. And the shirt has one little patch on the shoulder, one just little round. It has no wording on it. It's just a design on the little patch. We begin to talk to him in conversation. He has a huge backpack. I mean, this is more than just a little day pack. This has a sleeping bag on it, and it's one of those that goes way up above the head when it's on. And we begin to talk to him in the lobby as he comes in, and he begins to tell us that he's a soldier that's traveling the world, and he's from Lithuania. And I'll be honest, I still to this day don't believe that's true. He definitely had the concept of being a soldier, but it wasn't a good concept. He didn't really look the part and didn't really act the part, but he had this huge backpack. So we spent some time with him, did a little visiting. We were ministering to him, being nice, got him a free cup of coffee as we talked to him and visited a little bit. And finally, we determined that we're going to let him go in, but he's got to put the backpack in our side room, which is down the hall a little bit away from the auditorium. And he agreed. So he put the backpack in there. We watched that room the entire service. He went in, he was ministered to. He wasn't an issue at all. Came back out, got his backpack, and walked away. And left and went hitchhiking up the highway. So I like that scenario. He complied by letting us put the backpack somewhere. We did not search it. It was a huge backpack. In fact, we didn't even ask to search it. We just asked if we could put it in a side room because it was a huge backpack. But it was great, and he was able to be ministered to. So he went into our service and heard the message. So I like that. Another incident we had recently, a gentleman who entered the church lobby, he walked in. We have security team members right there at the entrance to greet people and to help greet people, and then we'll also take people on tours, that kind of stuff, especially if we're concerned about mental health or other issues. We'll walk them on a tour, get them a free cup of coffee as we interview or kind of, talk to them, casually ask some questions. So he brought in a backpack, and as soon as he walked into the auditorium or into the lobby and we greeted him, he immediately said to us that he had just gotten kicked out of a church up the highway because he was being violent. And so, of course, ding, 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 flags, bells, whistles are going off. So we begin our conversation and begin our walk, and a couple of us did the walk with him and had some great conversation. And so we ended up asking him, he had a small backpack. We ended up asking him if we could check the backpack. And honestly, the flags were already going up that maybe he doesn't belong in our main auditorium. And we do have a TV room. So, and it's in the coffee area. So we were kind of thinking, okay, backpack or no backpack, this gentleman is already telling us he was violent earlier and got kicked out of a church. And there's some mental health flags going up here. So, but we still want him to be ministered to. We still care about him and want him to be ministered to. So the option was coming up to take him to the TV room. When we got to the TV room, we still asked him if we could search his backpack, what he had in there. And he didn't want to let us search it. So, and that was okay. We were going to let him stay in the TV room, be ministered to. It was a small backpack. It didn't appear to be real heavy as he took it off and set it down and that kind of thing. We didn't hear any clunks or anything. So, and we conversed with him. We talked to him probably for 5 or 10 minutes as we were waiting for the service to start. And eventually, through friendly conversation, he agreed to let us search the backpack. And the conversation kept coming up. And you know, sure enough, we were right. As we searched the backpack, he had numerous pills in there, and he did not appear to be managing his pills well. So, and he told us they were for mental health issues, and he had taken all of his pills out of the bottle and dumped them all into one bag, like a 1-gallon plastic baggie with a seal top. All of his pills were in there, and at one point he even took a few of them and just picked through and grabbed some pills and took them. So, lots of flags going off, but through conversation, he complied with letting us search it, but we took him to the TV room anyway so that he could still be ministered to. We still wanted him to be ministered to. Through our conversations and stuff, at one point he ended up telling us how he really liked us, that we were great guys, and he liked us. And so, and just through our conversation and stuff. So now, again, those are my opinions of ways you can handle backpacks, and maybe you come up with a different one. And if you're on YouTube, place a comment down below and tell us how you deal with backpacks. I'd love to hear how your church is dealing with it, and maybe it's one of these. How does your security team deal with it? So give us a comment down below on the YouTube channel. You know, and again, these are my opinions for discussion. They're not legal advice. So if there's any concerns, and again, this can be a sensitive area, if there's any concerns, then you should talk to your church's attorney or consult with your church's insurance company. And they'll help give you some advice on what they think should happen. So that's it for this edition of the Church Security Answer Man. I'm so glad that you joined us here. And, you know, my hope is that we're all learning from this information we're sharing. As I mentioned, you can find us on YouTube. We're on all kinds of podcast platforms, from iTunes to Stitcher to public radio to all kinds of forums. You just look up for the Church Security Answer Man. You can also find us information all day, every day at churchsecurityanswerman.com. So don't forget to like our page, subscribe, keep in contact with us. We'd love to have you subscribe, leave a comment wherever you're watching us from, and you have the ability to make those comments or leave those mark. And I try to read all the comments, and I have staff members that will alert me to those as well. So you can also send me an email at captainjoepuckett@gmail.com. So thanks again for being here, for paying attention to your church security. And I so appreciate that you're working hard on taking care of your people and taking care of your ministry. And so thank you again for being here. I appreciate that. And I hope you have a safe and secure week.
Thanks for watching the Church Security Answer Man video blog. Get more by joining us anytime at churchsecurityanswerman.com.